Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. This bulletin is coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlemle in Accra on digital address GA0993341 on Joy 99.7 FM. It's also live on Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, affiliates across the country on ABN Radio in London and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The news is brought to you by UMB Bank, UMB Speed Up, Digibank. Let's go. Coming up, 7-year-old boy allegedly sodomized by 3 of his schoolmates left with scars and forced to drop out of school.
The doctor found some rashes and sores on his anus, so he asked us to get some labs done. It was later confirmed that he had been sexually abused.
We'll hear from his grandmother who is demanding justice for her grandson, and mixed reactions greet Electoral Commission's decision to revert to old logo.
It wasn't right for Mrs. Charlotte Osei to have changed the former one to the new one which he used.
The Charlotte Osei logos, we are not happy about it.
As we have the old one, I like that one.
We'll hear from a commission member who says it will take 15,000 cities to print new letterheads across the country.
We've only done letterheads so far, and the letterheads did not cost us more than 15,000. I need to get the copies right, but I know it's more than 5,000 copies for all our offices, regional districts, etc.
And NDC national executives meet Council of Elders today over concerns of excessive filing fees, among others, by flag bearer aspirants. Meanwhile, one of the hopefuls, Gusitano, is demanding the party reopens nomination process.
We are saying that the party needs to go back to basics. It needs to create new guidelines, follow the process set out in the Constitution, so the guidelines are done on a consultative basis.
More details shortly, and President Akufo-Addo inspects work on the reconfiguration of the Medina-Adenta Highways footbridges on day 2 of his Greater Accra tour. We'll get a live update.
And we've got sports coming up later, where Birkum Chelsea's manager Odro Safo says circling reports that competitive football will be returning in the country next January cannot be true.
And is former President Mohammed's birth date a good luck charm? We'll tell you how some Kumasi Lotto stakers hit the jackpot after deciding to use his birth year 1958.
We were told of the year he was born, and so I staked with 10 cities and won 2,000 cities. After we returned from the rally, I staked 1 city.
You definitely don't want to miss that. Do stay with us. Thanks for your company. I'm Bernes Abubeidulansa. The details now. A grandmother is demanding justice for her 7-year-old grandson, allegedly sodomized by 3 schoolmates. The victim said the 3 boys in upper primary forced and had anal sex with him after school hours. Kwame eventually reported the incident to his grandmother because of pains around his anus anytime he visited the toilet. Mamiesi Nyamete Thompson has been following the story and will join us shortly in the studio. But first, here's her report.
Kwame said the 3 boys in upper primary had anal sex with him after school hours. These were boys who often bullied him.
They laid me on the table and abused me in turns. They were 3 boys, and they warned me not to tell my grandmother or they would kill me. I initially told her that the boys were worrying me, but couldn't tell her about the act. But my grandmother later got to see blood in my panties. And when she queried me, I couldn't tell her the truth. I was scared that they would beat me. The boys had warned me.
His grandmother, Madame Theresa, says the experience left the little boy scarred and frightened because the abusers threatened to harm him if he told his parents.
My grandson came home complaining he wasn't well. After some time, he began screaming, and I could see that he was in pain anytime he visited the toilet. I realized he's become constipated, so I decided to send him to the hospital. The doctor found some rashes and sores on his anus, so he asked us to get some labs done. After 2 labs, we were told that he was badly infected. It was later confirmed that he had been sexually abused.
The journey to rehabilitate Kwame has been difficult. For 4 months, he has been receiving medical and psychological treatment at a very high cost.
My grandson has really suffered. He's always in pain. From April to November this year, he's just been crying, complaining of pains in his anus. I'll have to carry him often to and from the hospital. This has really drained our finances.
His inability to control his bowel has forced him to wear pampers and stay in bed most of the time. Kwame added that any time he complained of bullying, his teachers ignored his concerns. Authorities at his school, name withheld for now, have refused to go on record. They, however, denied the allegations. Meanwhile, the police say they have investigated the case and forwarded the docket to the Attorney General's office for advice.
Reporter on this story, Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson, joins me in the studio. Now, Mamiesi, you've seen this young boy. What condition is he in?
Well, let me take you back. When the incident happened, it was very, very terrible. I mean, he had severe sores in his anus, and they had to go through a series of lab tests, go to the hospital to and fro. They had gone to about 3 hospitals in Tema alone. They had gone to Nabita, they had gone to General Hospital eventually, and then now Kolebu, where the boy is receiving psychological treatment as well. And he had to be in hospital for about 5 months. Because of the situation he found himself. Initially, he couldn't tell his grandmother what he had been through, and he was constipated, in the report. And he had to, go through difficult times trying to free his bowels. That was when he had to tell the doctor this was what happened to him, and the lab results.
And that was because he had received threats.
Yes, from the boys.
From the boys.
That he shouldn't tell anybody, otherwise they'll beat him to death.
You mentioned that he's been in school for 5 months. How is this condition affecting his education?
He's been at home. He's
been in the hospital, I beg your pardon, for 5 months.
Yes, he's currently at home now, because the sores are healing. So he's been at home for some time now. But he's not been able to go back to school. Yes, one, because of the trauma and then the stigma, and then also he cannot face the people that did that to him. The people that did that to him are still in school as we speak. The school is running, the people are still in school, and nothing has been done about the situation since. That's what's making the grandmother call for prosecution or any investigations being done to be sped up.
Thank you very much. That's Adom FM's Mamiesi Nyamiche Thompson. She's following the story and will bring you updates shortly. Now, there have been mixed reactions by sections of the public to the decision by the Electoral Commission to return to the use of its old logo. An internal memo by Chairperson Jan Mensah copied to deputy chairpersons indicated that effective December 4, 2018, the original logo of the commission, which bears the coat of arms and has a ballot box showing the hand casting its vote, has been restored. Shortly, we'll hear from some Ghanaians, but first, listen to Deputy Electoral Commissioner Dr. Eric Bosman Asare, who's been defending their decision.
I think to a large extent, a lot of things went into it. New commissioners were appointed on August 1st. Now, as soon as we assumed office, we decided to look at the policy direction of the Electoral Commission as an organization. And one of the discussions we had to do with the logo of the commission. And members of the commission took a unanimous decision that they thought a restoration of the old logo will be in the best interest of the commission. And when you look at the logo which has just been restored, clearly you can see transparency showing, you can see fairness, you can also see integrity. You see the coat of arms, Ghana's Electoral Commission. So the consensus was that this will be able to do a better job for us moving forward rather than the one which was introduced by the previous leadership of the commission.
You heard the Deputy Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Eric Bosman. Meanwhile, the Progressive People's Party, PPP, is supporting the Commission's decision. It believes money was wasted under the leadership of Madam Charlotte Osei in the rebranding and changing of the EC's logo. Ni Alote Brew Hammond is chairman of the PPP.
We haven't just yet, but if my recollection of the introduction of that logo to guide my thoughts, I believe that we were not very happy with that logo. We believe that it did not represent the Electoral Commission. We were not consulted in the change of the logo. And this morning, hearing about the news that this new Electoral Commission had referred to the old logo is pleasing.
But don't you think this is a waste of the taxpayers' money?
Well, the tax money was wasted when the logo was converted. I think going back to the original did not require a new design, and the plate must have already been in existence. The wasted revenues from our financial resources was wasted when it was converted from the old to the new.
But the Convention's People's Party is angry that IPAC was not consulted in this latest decision. James Kwabena Bonfe is General Secretary of the CPP.
It's very simple, but I mean, talk to the EC, let them justify what they're doing, whether the timing is right, whether they had enough stakeholder consultations. You know, just as the previous one was done without engaging stakeholders, they can't do the same thing. And it puts us all in a very difficult situation. Is the timing right? So I prefer that you will talk to the EC for them to respond to the issues. We will meet at IPAC and we will raise the issues there.
General Secretary of the CPP, James Kwabena Bonfe there. Well, there are those who have raised issues with regards to the cost of rebranding the logo. But Dr. Eric Bosman has allayed fears of many. He says they will spend approximately 15,000 for printing of letterheads across the country.
We've only done letterheads so far, and the letterheads did not cost us more than 15,000. I need to get the copies right, but I know it's more than 5,000 copies for all our offices, regional districts, etc. And these are part of the routine administrative expenses. If not for the introduction of the new logo, we will still be spending that money, the same amount of money. And the areas we may be having some cost will have to do with some of the places we may have to remove the old logo and replace with the new ones. But I was making a point that we are not interested in branding per se. So we are not going to go out of our way to have ceremonies where we are placing our logo here, etc. Some of them will just be the ordinary paint. So it's not going to be any extra money. And I was making the point that in our 2019 budget, we don't have any item, any budget line for replacement of logo. So that means these are not things we are going to spend so much money on. It's just going to be the routine administrative expenses, just like having water in the office, having papers, etc.
Well, political marketing analyst Dr. Kobi Mensah said he's proposing a policy guideline that restricts the Electoral Commission from changing its logo as and when it wants to.
You don't change some of these organizational underpinnings by whim. You've got to make sure that you have a thorough work, and you've got to make sure that all your stakeholders have been informed that these things have changed. Now, if we don't have any government policy, regarding our, images, regarding our branding, we're going to have this back and forth that we have. And I think that is not good enough. I expected that the EC would have actually, kind of embedded this in a policy-wise and said, we have had an extensive policy, a comprehensive policy regarding our branding. And as a result, we're going back to the old brand, old logo. And we're hoping that in future, no one can actually just get up and change it. But you just change it because you think it's an administrative process that you can just do that with a pen. Look, it costs us a lot. It may not cost you money, but it costs us reputation. It costs us hugely in terms of reputation because we're sending information out there that you're not consistent and that you're not actually thorough enough in the way you do things. How could you change a logo of an organization just about 2 years down the line?
You heard Dr. Kobi Asari. He's a political marketing analyst. Well, there are mixed reactions on the streets of Accra on the subject.
It wasn't right for Mrs. Charlotte Osei to have changed the former one to the new one which he used.
The Charlotte Osei logos, we are not happy about it. So once the original one is there, Ghanaians prefer to use that one than the Charlotte Osei one.
You see, but as we have the old one, I like that one. Specifically, I like the old one.
Which one is the old one? The Charlotte Osei one or the original?
The original one.
You heard there some reactions from the streets of Accra. Away from that, Joy News is learning NDC national executives are meeting the party's Council of Elders today over concerns of excessive filing fees, among others, by flag bearer aspirants. At least 9 of them petitioned the council, appealing to it to ensure the national executive rescinds its decision as it prepares for the presidential primaries in January next year. We'll bring you more on that meeting later. Meanwhile, NDC flag bearer hopeful Gusi Tano is demanding that the party reopens its nomination process. He insists it has so far been unconstitutional as a procedure set out in the NDC's constitution has not been followed. Mr. Tano, together with 8 others, are not likely to be on the ballot for the January 19 elections as the party closed the process yesterday, allowing all members to pick forms to contest. Campaign coordinator for Mr. Tano, Trietue Opoku, says they will consider all options to get the NDC leaders to listen to their concerns.
Well, there's a situation of dispute. The NEC, the National Executive Committee, has published guidelines. We say that those guidelines are unlawful and cannot be the basis for running the primary. Whether they open them or close them under unlawful guidelines is really neither here nor there. They have to respect the party constitution. They have to meet the party constitution's requirements. And they have to meet basic standards of good governance and relationship with party members. What they've done is we are saying that the party needs to go back to basics. It needs to create new guidelines, follow the process set out in the Constitution, so the guidelines are done on a consultative basis with the Council of Elders. Those guidelines must respect the Constitution. NEC cannot arrogate to itself powers the Constitution has not given it. We're saying those guidelines must take account of the concerns that have been raised about the partiality or the lack of impartiality of a number of NEC officials who have made open declarations of support for a particular candidate. Those people cannot superintend the primaries process. They're biased, it's clear.
You heard campaign coordinator for Mr. Tano, Trietue Opoku. Well, the NDC's Deputy General Secretary, Peter Otokuno, maintains the process remains closed.
The people who are purported to have signed the petition, some of them have picked the nomination forms. Some did not pick the nomination forms. So it tells and it means that there are some of them who are still interested in becoming flag bearers of the party. And there are some of them who perhaps are not interested in being flag bearers of the party. A team representing former President Mahama coming on Monday. Then on Tuesday around 11 a.m. we had a team led by Honorable Ken Jasa, pick the form on behalf of Professor Joshua Alabi. Then subsequently we had other teams coming to pick for Sly Mensah and Stemi Atubiga and the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Kingsford Suman Agbagben, yesterday. So these are those we can call our prospective aspirants who have expressed interest and subsequently taken the steps to pick the nomination forms towards becoming flag bearers of our.
Peter Otokuno is NDC's Deputy General Secretary. Well, today, President Akufo-Addo has been inspecting works on the reconfiguration of the Medina-Denton Highway footbridges as he continues his tour of the Greater Accra region. The absence of walkways on the 5-kilometer stretch between Pantang and Medina has resulted in the loss of several lives from vehicular accidents and knockdowns. Government re-awarded the contract on the abandoned footbridges following massive demonstrations last month after a student of the West Africa Senior High School was killed by a vehicle while crossing the road. Let's cross over to the venue now. Presidential correspondent Elton Brobe joins us on the line. Elton, what has the president been saying as he inspects this project?
Well, Ben, he was briefed by the site engineer on work done so far. Let me just run by you what exactly the contractor is expected to do. We are told that work will be handed over to government in 6 months' time. Now, they are to deliver on 9 key points: reconfiguration of the intersection and realignment of signal poles, replacement of signal heads, UPS system with 24-hour autonomy, which means that in the event of a power outage from the national grid, light or the electricity supply on that particular stretch will be on for the next 2 days, and then more importantly, the construction of the walkway to join the main footbridge. And according to the contractors, they are well ahead of time. They are hoping that by April next year they will hand over some, but within 6 months they will hand over the entire project to government. Deputy Director of Urban Roads, Mr. Kwesi Miyama, spoke to or briefed presidents on work done so far. President Kufuor was more concerned about maintenance of the project after it is handed over to government. We can listen to them as they interact.
Road signs. Yeah, the road signs, the road line markings, and the road signage. We are putting them there. We are preparing them to put them there. Yeah. So these are some of them. Done some crash barriers. Yeah, as you can see here. We are also putting more crash barriers. The crash barriers, the idea is that when a vehicle hits, it will not it will stop it from moving to hit any pedestrian. And we'll move here. We are doing some civil works at the SDA junction to make sure that the turning movements are okay. And
the maintenance of these things, that's everybody's concern.
Yes, the maintenance of the
sign language, the signs.
The frequency of the marking.
The frequency.
The frequency of the marking.
And I mean, you have the arrangements in place to make sure.
Yes, we have the routine maintenance budget that does that frequently.
But is it working?
Yes, it's working, sir.
President Akufo-Addo speaking to contractors. You're listening to the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. Our top story: 7-year-old boy allegedly sodomized by 3 of his schoolmates, left with scars and forced to drop out of school. We heard from his grandmother, who is demanding justice for her grandson. And still to come, is former President Mahama's birth date a good luck charm? We'll tell you how some Kumasi Lotto stakers hit the jackpot after using his birth year 1958.
We were told of the year he was born, and so I staked with 10 cedis and won 2,000 cedis. After we returned from the rally, I staked 1 cedi.
My name is Kwame Sefakai, and most of you know me as a media personality, but I am also a family man. The UMB mobile banking app, UMB Speed App, saves me so much time by letting me do almost all of my banking transactions on my phone. The cardless withdrawal feature allows me to withdraw cash from any UMB ATM without an ATM card. I can also pay bills, transfer money, request for a loan, invest money, and so much more. So now, I can spend less time at the bank and more time with the ones I love. Bank anywhere and anytime with a UMB mobile banking app, UMB Speed App, and get the time to do what you love most. Download the UMB Speed App from your Android, iOS, or Windows phone today. Call 0302-633-988 for more information. UMB Speed App, Digibank, let's go!
Thank you so much for staying here on the Midday News on Joy 99.7 FM. It's now time for sports. And Ridwan, are we getting some good news for our local football?
And it looks like we are in some sort of confusion now because we woke up to the news that the Normalization Committee of the Ghana Football Association had met with Ghana Premier League clubs and had agreed to resume competitive football in the country in January next year. But General Manager of Berekum Chelsea, Nana Ojo-Safo, says that is not accurately true.
I should have taken it as a good news, but I also see it as a horse. I see it as something that might not be true because the presentation is not accurate. I've seen the post. I don't know when they met. I learned they met the Premier League club yesterday. They didn't meet us yesterday, but we met them some time ago and we presented the tournament to them. And they are supposed to give us okay. per letter, so we can go and look for our sponsors. We've not been given those letters. So I don't see where those competitions are coming from. But we are playing football already in the country. So if anything that you call active should be organized, so we are looking at it. But I don't think it is true.
You had Nano Safo there from Birkham, Chelsea. Looks like we're still in a turmoil. We don't know how to get our football back after June 6th, when the expose was premiered for everybody to watch the corruption in Ghana football.
Bad time for Ghana football,
absolutely,
if you ask me.
Yeah.
It's time for fact-checking now. Today we are focusing on some claims made by Planning Minister Professor George John Baffour on the economy and employment. Raymond Akwa joins me with more on the claims and verdicts. Raymond, let's start with Professor John Baffour's claim that the economy has been growing from 2016 to 2018.
Yes, the GDP has moved up constantly. With a little bit of dip in 2018, but it will go up again in 2029.
The verdict?
This is true. GDP growth rate increased using the rebase figures from 3.4% in 2016 to 8.1% in 2017. In fact, the IMF in its October 2018 release actually reviewed downwards its earlier 6.8% projection for this year to 6.3%. The IMF, however, projected economic growth will be higher for 2019 at 7.6%, and beyond that, it will dip to like 5.1% around 2023.
He also pointed out what he calls significant growth in Agric's GDP from 2016 to 2018.
2.9% in 2016 to 6.1 to 6.8 in 2018.
What's the verdict on that, Raymond?
This is mostly true. Agricultural sector growth actually grew from 6.1% in 2017. It was more than double the 2.9% growth in 2016. The second quarter GDP for 2018 is 4.8%, slightly higher than the 4.7% in the first quarter of this year. Of course, I mean, the statistical service released the end year one. Projections are also being done in that direction, but it's mostly true.
Finally, he claimed more than 50% of the Ghanaian workforce is into agriculture.
Agriculture is about 20-something percent share of the GDP, but it actually takes about 50% of our working population.
Your verdict, Raymond?
This is false. The percentage of the workforce in agriculture, according to the Statistical Service Labour Force Service, show agricultural employment fell from 61% in 1991 to 54.9% in 2006. Since then, it's been going far below the 50% mark. In fact, in 2010 it was 41.6%, then fell to 43% in 2012, then declined further in our last Labour Force survey of 2017 to 32%. So it's not more than 50%, really.
Thank you, Raymond Akwa, there with fact-checking. Now, Liberian academic Dr. Robtel Pele is pushing for new ways to combat corruption. The Oxford University lecturer has so far authored 2 books meant to teach children about the need to remain honest. She believes this could prevent the next generation of adults from abandoning their innate potential of avoiding corruption. Joy News' Joseph Akable met her on the sidelines of an AU dialogue on corruption held in Botswana and reports.
They thought about how Ma and Pa left their first church, the Pentecostal Tabernacle, because the pastor was caught taking money from the offering to build his family a mansion on the beach. They thought about Bagba and the round C word. They realized how much they did not like the word at all.
A depiction of one of the books authored by Liberian Oxford-based academic Dr. Robtel Pele.
The title of the book is Bagba, and it means, loosely translated as trickery, that bad thing in the Bassa language, which is one of the 15 languages in Liberia. And it's basically an anti-corruption children's book. The intention of the book is to have a national conversation with kids in Liberia as well as across the continent of Africa about what it means to be accountable to oneself, one's community, one's nation, one's continent, and one's globe.
In this book, Dr. Pele tells the story of siblings who travel to the Liberian capital of Monrovia to visit their uncle.
In the capital, they have a series of experiences that remind them of this Bassa word, Bagba, which effectively means corruption.
She believes children are innately honest and must be sensitized early enough about corruption before society changes them.
Joseph Akable with that report. And some residents of Kumasi are looking forward to a bigger fortune in the National Weekly Lotto with locked up numbers linked to former President Mahama. Yes. Over the weekend, Lotto stakers at Moshizongo and other communities won massively using the former president's birth year, 1958. Interesting, isn't it? Kwesi Deborah has more.
If you don't have money, you don't have a say. If not for the lottery, my daughter, who has gotten nursing training admission, would have gotten pregnant. Chako Sela Ekuya Laroba is overjoyed. Her burden has been assuaged by two magic numbers, 19 and 58. When John Mahama came to Moshizongo, she says, I went there, and it was there we were told of the year he was born, and so we decided to stake it. I staked with 10 cedis and won 2,000 cedis. I've gone for another Chako consignment and deposited 1,000 cedis in a bank to cater for my daughter's education. Laraba is not the only celebrant. Aishitu is a resident of Dechemso. She heard a conversation about the number and decided to stake 5 cedis worth. I was at a store and I heard of it. I had to look for a secluded place to stake. I got 1,000 cedis.
You may want to call it coincidence, but for these Lotto stakers, former President Mahama's birthday is their lucky charm. And Fifi Kumsin joins me with what's trending.
Absolutely. Rwanda and its drones distributing blood, they are trending right now. And now there's talk about its general progress as a country. Now, this one says that's Merald MP. Right. You don't need to call 112, that's Rwanda's emergency number, while on the streets of Kigali. You just press a red button on a nearby CCTV camera post and talk to emergency services. Now, Georgie says, we've been piecing together where we are with proper public transport across Africa. Rwanda seems to be getting it right.
Thank you very much. That's Fifi Kumsin with what's trending. And that'll be it for the midday news on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Benes Abubedu Lansa. Top story, 7-year-old boy allegedly sodomized by 3 of his schoolmates, left with scars and forced to drop out of school. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Enjoy the rest of your day.